Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Muhammad Asfar bin Azman, 18BB01034 as presenter 1. Azim Nurhakim bin Muhammad Azman, 18BB01014 as presenter 2. Nur ATIQAH SYAZWANI binti Muhammad SAIFUL, 18BB01009 as presenter 3. And Nur AINA NADHIRAH binti KHAIRUDIN, 18BB01003 as the last presenter. We will present about intellectual property of copyright.
So I wanted to explain about definition of copyright. Copyright is the right to stop others from copying or performing or using or selling your masterpiece of work. It can exist in different work of products such as movies, music, or even novels. To protect your work of art, you have the option to registering it. Next, there are four importance of copyright. First, to asset. Your masterpiece is always a potential asset that can be considerable value in the future and can even potentially be used in financial collateral. Secondly, to protect your right. If someone infringes your copyright, you are liable to compensate for your financial loss or for them to pay you for a license. Thirdly, to licensing option. If your copyright affect many parties, you can go for a licensing option where you too can get benefit from their use. It's like a win-win situation. You can expand your work, you can expand your artwork while you can get financial benefit from the licensing option. Finally is clarity. True ownership is not always totally clear. Works by contractors can be complex, so it is useful to specify copyright ownership in any contracts you enter into for creative works.
So my present part is the right of copyright owners. The first one is legal rights. Author, copyright owner and performer is given an exclusive right to control under the copyright law, including the right to enforce their copyrighted works in cases for infringement either by civil or criminal action. The second one is economic right. Economic rights that are given to right holder include right of reproduction, right of communication to public, right to perform, showing or playing to the public, right of distribution, and right of commercial rental. It allows the owner of right to derive financial reward from the use of his work by the user or commercial purpose. Form of economic right can be by way of assignment, licensing, and testamentary disposition. The third one is moral right. First, paternity right. Paternity rights. Paternity rights that allow the author to claim the originality right of his or her creation. The second one is integrity rights that prevent any user from distortion, mutilation, or other modification of his or her works, whereby the result of the modification will significantly alter the original work and adversely affect the author's honor or reputation. The next slide is duration of copyright. The first one is literary, musical, or artistic work. Subsists during the life of the author plus 50 years after his death. Second is film, sound recording, and performer. Subsists for 50 years from the work was published. Fixed in physician for the film and sound recording. For performer, the copyright work shall subsist from the performance was performed or fixation in a sound recording. The lastly is broadcast. Broadcast protection occur in way of transmission either by wire or wireless means the period for 50 years should be computed from the which the broadcast was first.
How is copyright be protected in Malaysia? As long as you have or you can prepare the proper documentation to prove ownership, you can claim ownership by way of a statutory declaration or by filing a voluntary notification at the intellectual property company. How to register for copyright? Part 1. First, you must have an implemented idea or creative work. Second, you need to visit the intellectual property website. Next, you need to download the related forms and fill in the truly. Not to forget, you need to have a summarization of your product. Part 2. Go to any magistrate court to get to obtain a confirmation of the affidavit. Part 3. The complete documents and your innovation report must be sent to the Intellectual Property Office, any intellectual property office near you. Part 4. The Intellectual Property Office will send you a copyright notice and a form to get the certification be filled. Part 5. You must submit back the form to the Intellectual Property Office back before you officially get your copyright certification. Please be noted that you will be need to sacrifice the little penny to get the certification.
Next, we go to copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is reproduce in any material form, performs, shows or play or distributes to the public. Import any article into Malaysia for the purpose of trade or financial gains, makes for sale, or rent any infringing copy. Sales, rent or by way of trade, exposes or offer for sale, or rent any infringing copy. Distributes infringing copies. Possesses, otherwise than for his private and domestic use, any infringing copy. Exhibits in public any infringing copy by way of trade. Makes or has in his possession any contrivance used or intended to be used for the purpose of making infringing copy. What if copyright infringement happened to you? Obviously, there are an act of intellectual property called Copyright Act 1987, but to list down all the provisions of copyright here, impossible. So, let me give you an example of copyright issue and the provision. This is the case of Siti Khadijah Apparel Sdn Bhd versus Aryani Textile and Manufacturing M Sdn Bhd. So, the cases begin when Aryani Textile has plagiarized the copyright idea of Telekong Siti Khadijah. Aryani Textile, as the defendant stated, that Siti Khadijah's telekong was made based on a general telekong design, freely available to everyone, and that it was purely functional and did not entitle to copyright. High Court ruled that Siti Khadijah's telekong met all the requirements for copyright protection. The court ruled the copyright protection to plaintiff because plaintiff used her time and skills to create telekong and it is legitimate owner of the copyright. The plaintiff entitled to obtain the copyright protection as the conditions are met. What is the court decision? The court decision, pursuant to Article 3A of the Copyright Law, the plaintiff two-dimensional drawing of the telekong design constitute as graphic work, and the plaintiff telekong constitute as the graphic work in this section. The court also ruled that Section 3C of the Copyright Law stipulated that the plaintiff provided evidence to demonstrate that the plaintiff telekong was a work of artistic craftsmanship. The court also held that the defendant infringed the plaintiff copyright based on the copying and reproducing of the plaintiff telekong, which constitute act subject to control of the right of author under Article 36(1), which is design destination similitude between plaintiff telecom and defendants telecom. The litigant didn't give any dependable proof to demonstrate that the defendant's telecom was made without duplicating the plaintiff telecom. Indeed, the defendant telecom was sold and available after the plaintiff telecom. The court also found that the defendant's telecom duplicated an enormous bit of the plaintiff telecom. This is on the ground that the capacities identified with complete target closeness comprise a significant piece of the plaintiff telecom. The reason of the decision made by the court are: business owners should use the design they use with caution. The court held that the defendant's insufficient knowledge of the plaintiff copyright was undoubtedly, as long as the conditions stipulated by the Copyright Act are met, copyright protection can still be provided for works that may not be industrial designs. That's all from us. Thank you.